From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Tonight, fuel subsidy remains a burning issue as federal government proposes 2.5 trillion naira to accommodate requirements for 2022 following requests by the NNPC for a monthly payment of 270 billion naira. Federal High Court Abuja rules in favor of Rivers State government, says states cannot fund police trust fund scheme, bars federal government from making deductions from federation account. Olabisi Kolawole emerges governorship candidate for the PDP in Ekiti primary as only female aspirant withdraws from the race hours after soldiers arrested more than 100 political thugs. And Ghana introduces mandatory insurance scheme for all travelers coming through the country's main airport. Plus international news from our studio in London.
On business news tonight, international oil price benchmark Brent crude climbs nearly $30 above Nigeria's budget benchmark, hits $90 per barrel, first time in over 8 years amid rising tensions between Russia and Ukraine.
On sports news tonight, Egypt beat Côte d'Ivoire 5-4 on penalties to reach the quarterfinals at the AFCON Cup of Nations in Cameroon following a 0-0 draw.
And from Abuja, health emergency bill, which provides a framework for the control of infectious diseases, passes second reading at the Senate. A similar bill was passed in the lower house last year.
And the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation is requesting the sum of 3 trillion naira as fuel subsidy for 2022. This is according to the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, who briefed State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by the President. She said by implication, the federal government will have to make an incremental provision of 2.557 trillion naira in order to meet subsidy requirement, which currently averages about 270 billion per month. Our correspondent Gloria Mizuke reports.
For the first time this year, President Muhammadu Buhari chairs the virtual Federal Executive Council meeting at the State House. A number of ministers are in attendance as crucial issues contained in various memos are addressed, including fuel subsidy removal, which has made the headlines recently. Moments later, the Finance Minister, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, announces a request presented by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited following a recent decision to extend the fuel subsidy.
Population, heightened inflation, and also that the measures that needed to be taken to enable a smoother exit of the fuel subsidy are not yet in place. It was agreed by Council that it is desirable to exit fuel subsidy. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC, has presented to the Ministry a request for 3 trillion naira as fuel subsidy for 2022. And what this means is that we have to make an incremental provision of 2.557 trillion naira to be able to meet the subsidy requirement, which is averaging about 270 billion naira per month. That will end up with incremental cost of 3 trillion in 2022. So this has been considered by Council, and we've also been asked to approach the National Assembly for an amendment to the fiscal framework as well as the budget to also further discuss with NNPC on how to make provisions for this and also how to rationalize this expenditure.
When asked about how the additional budget would be funded, the minister reveals strategies to be employed.
So we hope to reduce it from that 3 trillion. That is one. Secondly, we hope to reconcile to reduce the cost, but also we have several reconciliations with NNPC, and NNPC itself is owing, in some cases, government. So we want to be able to settle some of the subsidy costs through this reconciliation process.
The executive is also seeking restoration of certain funds deleted by lawmakers amounting to 103 billion naira.
Part of the request that Council has approved today is for the National Assembly to repeal clauses 10 and 11. So clause 10 is referring to a provision that has been made that will enable the EFCC and the NFIU be able to take 10% of whatever collections that they recover. We're asking for that to be repealed because this is in direct contrast to the acts of these two agencies, and also it is in contravention with the Fiscal Responsibility Act and the Finance Act 2021.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Okay.
Are there other doubts and concerns regarding the actual number of barrels of crude oil Nigerians consume in the country, when the right time will be to remove fuel subsidy, and whether or not the present administration is simply pushing the burden of fuel subsidy removal onto the next administration? But the president's spokesperson, Mr. Garba Shehu, insists that the APC is the next administration. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And to the National Assembly, where 2 ad hoc committees have been set up by the House of Representatives to investigate the state and actual production capacity of the nation's refineries, as well as the daily consumption of premium motor spirits in the country. The Speaker, Honourable Femi Gbajabiamila, stated this while reacting to a motion of urgent public importance by the Minority Leader, Ndidi Elumelu, on the need to address the issue of fuel subsidy in the country. Our correspondent Terry Kumi reports also that lawmakers reacted to the coup in Burkina Faso, among other issues.
The fuel subsidy issue has lingered for quite a while now. While the federal government has said subsidy would remain for at least the next 18 months, lawmakers in the House of Representatives are concerned about the state of the refineries and the daily rate of consumption of PMS in the country.
Those two things have to be determined before we even get to the issue of fuel subsidy. So I will set up a very tight ad hoc committee of 12 members for each of those two.
The House is also calling for the establishment of industries across the country.
The House is also aware that similar strategy of building cottage industry has worked agreeable in some African countries like Rwanda, Mozambique, Ghana, and South Africa, an indication that grassroots industrialization produces an array of positive economic and social impacts.
In the meantime, the military coup in Burkina Faso has caught the attention of the House, and lawmakers are now worried about the survival of democracy in West Africa.
West Africa has suffered. We are lagging behind in growth and development. You take all the development indices, the Human Development Index established by the UNDP, you find all the countries in West Africa lagging behind others. And part of the problem is the inconsistency in governance. I condemn completely what the military has done, but you must also look at the fact that when that happened, the people came out in solidarity with the military. Not because they don't want democratic governance, but more because what they had was far from what they were hoping, what they would ordinarily desire. I also want to use this opportunity of what has happened in that country to caution against despotic leaders.
The Green Chamber is urging the federal government, ECOWAS, the United Nations and its agencies to impose total sanctions on those countries where coup d'etat have taken place in West Africa. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
And to legal matters, a federal high court in Abuja has barred the federal government from further making deductions from the Federation account to fund its agencies not listed in the 1999 Constitution for direct allocation. The court declared as illegal, unlawful and unconstitutional the direct allocations made by the federal government from the Federation account to fund the Nigeria Police Trust Fund. Delivering the judgment in a suit instituted by the River State government, Justice Ahmed Mohammed held that the federal government breached sections 161 and 162 of the 1999 Constitution by the action.
Victory has come the way of the River State government as the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has upheld its prayers seeking to stop the deduction of funds from the Federation account to fund the Nigeria Police Trust Fund scheme. The trial judge, Justice Ahmed Mohammed, specifically held that Section 162 was clear and to the effect that only the federal government, state governments and local governments shall be allocated funds directly from the Federation account. The court also held that Section 4 of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund Act 2019 relied upon the federal government to justify the unlawful deductions from the Federation account was inconsistent with Section 162 of the 1999 Constitution, which recognizes only the federal, state and local governments. While upholding the suit of River State against the deductions, Justice Mohammed ordered that the fund belonging to River State but used to fund the Nigeria Police Trust Fund by the federal government must be refunded to the state. The judge, however, declined to extend similar order of refund to the remaining 35 states of the Federation, on the ground that they were not parties in the suit and that River State, as the only plaintiff in this matter, did not file it on behalf of others. Justice Mohammed also agreed with River State that the federal government was completely wrong in the interpretation given to Section 4 of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund Act to the effect that the Nigeria Police was established by the federal government and as such the funding is solely on the federal government. The defendants in the matter are the Attorney General of the Federation, Accountants General of the Federation, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, and Minister of Finance.
Meanwhile, Governor Nyesom Wike of River State has held the Federal High Court's judgment, describing it as victory for democracy. According to him, it was wrong for the federal government to have conceived the idea to deduct the funds because funding the police is a federal government responsibility. Governor Wike spoke to journalists in Port Harcourt shortly after returning from Germany.
And for me, it's a victory for democracy. I've always told people, it is not whether you must win or not, but it's a matter of when you see issues that you think are in contravention of our constitution and other laws, there's nothing really wrong for you to challenge it so that the right thing can be done. After all, if the money is given back to us, we can steal on our own. Say, police, we want to support you this. But not just arbitrarily deducting our money for the Federation account and putting it in police trust fund. I don't think that is clear. And I thank God that today that the court has made a clear pronouncement on it. Federal High Court, Abuja. And I commend the judiciary for being put. This is what we're talking about. Things that are wrong, you must be bold to pronounce it. This action is wrong. And that portion that says, take money directly from Federation account to the police trust fund, it will set aside. And today, I'm very happy.
Into politics, Senator Rochas Okorocha has indicated his intention to contest for the office of the president in 2023's general elections. He made this known in a letter to the President of Senate, Ahmed Lawan, during today's plenary session. In the letter, Senator Okorocha explains that he would hold a world press conference on January the 31st to formally and publicly announce his ambition.
While elections drawing nearer as the days go by, our citizens are concerned about the quality of persons to run the affairs of our nation, one who can address some of their major concerns, which includes a detribalized Nigerian who can unite our country, a leader with a compassionate heart who will care for the poor and downtrodden and the masses of our country, a visionary leader who can create wealth for our teeming populace, thereby addressing the issues of poverty, insecurity, and youth restiveness. It is as a result of these concerns that I wish to hold a world press conference on my intention to run for the office of the President of our dear nation. I therefore wish to solicit for your prayers as I make known my intention.
In part two, after the break, we have more on the 2023 presidential election. Plus, Olu of Warri Ogiame Atuase III makes his first visit to the presidential villa after coronation, calls for more utilization of the 4 seaports in Delta State. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Fuel subsidy remains a burning issue as federal government proposes 2.5 trillion naira to accommodate requirements for 2022 following requests by the NNPC for a monthly payment of 270 billion naira. Federal High Court Abuja rules in favor of River State government, says states cannot fund police trust fund scheme, bars federal government from making deductions from federation account. Olabisi Kolawole emerges governorship candidate for the PDP in Ekiti primary as only female aspirant withdraws from the race hours after soldiers arrest over 100 political thugs. And Ghana introduces mandatory insurance scheme for all travelers coming through the country's main airport. Ahead of next year's general election, the Arawa Consultative Forum, ACF, has warned its members against endorsing any aspirant or candidate ahead of the 2023 presidential election, saying that the forum is not a political party that nominates candidates. National chairman of the ACF and a former Minister of Agriculture, Chief Olu Ogbe, stated this in a communique issued at the end of the forum's National Executive Council meeting in Kaduna State. The forum maintains that it does not have a candidate and will not endorse one, irrespective of whether the person is from the north or the south. The ACF plans to hold meetings with other socio-cultural groups in the south as part of steps to douse political tension in the country and ensure peaceful coexistence among Nigerians. And to Ekiti State, where the immediate past chairman of the People's Democratic Party there, Olabisi Kolawole, has emerged the candidate of the party for the June governorship election. He won with 671 votes out of 1,185 cast. Mr. Kolawole, who enjoys the backing of former Governor Ayo Fayose, beat his closest rival, former Governor Segun Oni, who polled 330 votes. Declaring the results, Governor Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State, who heads the committee that conducted the election, called on party members to work as a united force.
Olujimi, 2 votes. Olabisi Kolawole, 671 votes. Total then void votes 13. Total, that brings the total number of votes cast to 1,185. Number accredited 1,208. Accredited voters 1,208. Those who voted, including void votes, 1,185. Looking at our Constitution, I hereby say that Olabisi Kolawole, having satisfied the provisions of the Constitution of our party is hereby, through simple majority, scoring 671 votes, and that 671 votes, being the highest vote, is hereby declared as the winner of this contest.
Meanwhile, earlier in the day, one of the aspirants, Senator Abiodun Olujimi, opted out of the primary, citing gender bias and an unfair resolution of matters arising from the controversial Congress of the party.
I felt cheated. I felt badly handled by the party. I felt disenfranchised. Short of feeling a bit insulted, because what has happened is that for the last almost 2 years, we had been fighting for the Congress that took place and was hijacked by a section of the party. And we've expended so much energy, so much financial resources, and so much mental resources on the issue. Let me say, I am the only one standing for the PDP in Ekiti State as at today. And there was just my local government and the other one left. And we were expecting that congresses would hold there so that at least I can have a full complement of delegates to take me into the primaries. But lo and behold, I got there today and found that the party, in their wisdom, had only allowed automatic delegates, only 12 of them from my local government. And the next local government, Ebonyi local government, 10 to participate in the activities. I felt that was unjustified.
Well, staying with the PDP governorship primary in Ekiti State, just before the commencement, over 100 suspected political thugs were arrested by soldiers. According to the police spokesperson in the state, Sunday Abutu, the suspects who were coming from Oyo State axis were apprehended by soldiers on guard at a border town with Osun State. He adds that the suspected political thugs were arrested with various dangerous weapons, such as cutlasses, guns and charms. A source from the military who also confirmed the story to Channels Television says the suspected criminals were taken to Akure, the Ondo State capital, for further action. Let's head now to Abuja, where Maokwe Ogun Yusuf has some more stories. Hi, Maokwe.
Hello, Millicent. Well, we'll kick off with a presidential promise as President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged to ensure fairness, equity, and justice to the Shekiri people of Delta State. President Buhari made this promise while receiving the Olu of Warri Kingdom, His Royal Majesty Shola Emiko Ogiame Atuwashe III, and some of his chiefs at the State House. In a statement, the president extolled the patriotism of the monarch, promising to address his requests as soon as politically possible. The traditional ruler said the visit was to thank the president for sending a delegation to his coronation as the 21st monarch of Warri Kingdom. He also drew attention to what he describes as burning issues that are dear to his people.
As a Nigerian and the leader of the Shekiri people, it is with a great sense of responsibility that we pledge our loyalty to one united Nigeria as we support your government's aspirations to provide security and economic prosperity to all Nigerians, irrespective of tribe, creed, or religion. 2,600 years ago, John Dickinson said, "United we stand, divided we fall as a country." Like every other nation on earth, Nigeria has her problems to grapple with. But our firm belief is that as a united Nigeria, we shall stand well and make Nigeria a better country than we met. In unity, equity, and justice, we shall bequeath a better Nigeria to our children. There are 4 ports in Delta State: Warri, Koko, Sapele, and Burutu. However, these ports are underutilized and can make substantial contribution to the Nigerian economy and improve the security in our region by creating jobs for the teeming population of unemployed youths, thereby reducing insecurity in the Niger Delta. We believe that this is a win-win for Nigeria and also a win for the Niger Delta.
And it's now to the National Assembly, where the Senate has passed through second reading the National Health Emergency Bill, which is expected to be a comprehensive legislation to guide responses to the outbreak of infectious diseases within and outside Nigeria. The House of Representatives passed a similar bill in December 2021 called the Infectious Diseases Bill. Our Senate correspondent Linda Kigbe reports.
More than 2 years after COVID-19 hit the world, Nigeria still does not have a comprehensive legislative framework to manage the outbreak of an epidemic, a pandemic, or any infectious disease. In the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Senate and House of Representatives introduced legislations to manage infectious diseases. But the bills lingered for months in the National Assembly until the House of Reps finally passed theirs on December 21st, 2021.
The Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is sitting.
The National Health Emergency Bill is before the Senate for second reading during Wednesday's plenary session. The bill is expected to provide for an effective legal and administrative machinery to address challenges posed by sudden outbreak of infectious diseases which endanger public health in Nigeria.
Within or outside Nigeria. It also provides the framework that will necessitate a declaration by the appropriate authority of a public health emergency and to provide a sound basis for the measures and actions of the appropriate authorities during the period of public health emergencies to control and contain the spread of infectious or contagious diseases or public health events.
The National Health Emergency Bill provides for the establishment of a task force upon the declaration of a public health emergency. The creation of a public health emergency fund with monies appropriated by the National Assembly to fund emergency response activities, designation of isolation centers, quarantine stations and makeshift hospitals. Meanwhile, the Senate has approved a 215.811 billion naira budget for the Federal Inland Revenue Service for 2022. The approval follows the consideration of a report by the Committee on Finance during Wednesday's plenary session.
The personnel cost is based on staff strength on the payroll, including the social benefits, the NHIs, the pension contribution, and anticipated performance bonus for the year.
On the 2021 budget performance of the FIRS, the committee says the service collected 4.53 trillion naira as at October 31st, 2021, out of a total projected revenue target of 7.61 trillion naira, which represents 60% achievement. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, international oil prices benchmark Brent crude climbs $28 above Nigeria's budget for the first time in over 8 years. That's on Business News. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. The Chief of Defense Staff is seeking a closer collaboration between the military and the media, saying that both have a common duty of ensuring a secure environment that guarantees the freedom and liberty of citizens. General Lucky Irabo gave his thoughts during a parley with media executives and editors in Abuja and described as key the role of the media in promoting the socio-economic development of the country. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, is meeting media executives, bureau chiefs and editors of broadcast stations, as well as newspaper publishing houses in Abuja for the first time since assuming office. Over the years, the relationship between the media and security agencies in Nigeria has consistently been frosty, with journalists sometimes harassed and their lives threatened in the line of duty, as explained by one of the media executives attending the parley.
The relationship between the media and security institutions is necessarily one of tension due to differing institutional cultures and goals.
But the current security situation in the country requires the collaboration of critical stakeholders, and this media parley is believed to open a new vista of relationship between the armed forces and the media for such synergy to thrive.
The media has a cardinal role to play in advancing the cause of national security. The leadership of the armed forces of Nigeria thus views our esteemed media executives, editors, and bureau chiefs as critical stakeholders that cannot be ignored.
For the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, the media play a critical role in creating the ambience for socio-economic development of Nigeria.
There is a common cause. That common cause is our freedom and liberty. That common cause is for a secured environment. That common cause is for us to look forward to fulfilling our desires. No doubt, many have thought that all along it is we versus them. And I'm hopeful that at the end of this parley today, we no longer see ourselves as we versus them.
This move by the Chief of Defense Staff may be commendable, but Nigerian journalists hope to see the extension of this relationship in the way they are treated by officers and men of the armed forces and other security agencies in the country while carrying out their constitutional responsibilities. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Now, staying with issues around security, no fewer than 387 people are said to have been killed, while about 100 others sustained various degrees of injuries in Zango Kataf and Kaura local government areas of Kaduna State in the last 2 years. This is as a result of attacks and counterattacks between Fulani community and Atiap natives in the two councils. The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Mr. Samuel Arunwa, made this disclosure during a peace-building meeting between leaders of the two warring communities held at the palace of the paramount ruler of Atiap Chiefdom in Zango Kataf.
Within the last 1 week, we have thousands of people who have been displaced in Benongwari. Thousands. They are running into thousands. So the problem here is avoidable. These 387 people that were killed in Atiap and Tam chiefdoms of Kauru and Zango-Kataf local government areas, they are avoidable. Solution to this problem is recourse to the law. And this has been our position since 2015. People can't be able to access their farms. Many too can't be able to graze because we have a huge problem. So if we are able to manage problem in Zango without containing problem in Kauru, there's going to be a problem. And the same thing, if we are able to solve problem in Kauru without attending to the problem in Zango, there's going to be a problem. So we need to work together. We need to work in synergy. We need to have a collective approach to these issues.
Over in Ebonyi, the state government has promised to ensure peace returns to Akeze in Ivo local government area of the state, which was engulfed by violence following the death of a young man who was allegedly tortured by some Ibubuagu operatives. This is one of the outcomes of the State Security Council meeting held at the government house in Abakaliki, the state capital.
Ebonyi State Governor David Umahi has paid a visit to Akaize town in Ife local government area to meet with residents there in a bid to bring peace to the troubled community.
This burning will not go unpunished.
The governor condemned the actions of aggrieved youths who went on rampage following the alleged killing of a certain Ayim Naugo and 3 others in the community by some Ibubiago security operatives.
Those who masterminded it must be fished out and must be prosecuted. I'm going to visit again, but I give security agencies the next 144 hours to restore peace and bring people back.
Governor Umahi then summoned an emergency state security council meeting aimed at finding a solution to the crises. Briefing journalists about the meeting at the government house in Abakaliki, the commissioners for education and justice explained that government is determined to resolve the issues in the Akaize community.
Council, however, warned that the personnel should always do their job in line with the rules of engagement. Council directed that CP and other security agencies should be on the watch for a bad personnel who may want to go contrary to the rules of engagement.
It must be noted that the Bubagu security outfit has been up and doing in Ebonyi State, doing a lot in the day, in the evening, to ensure that the communities are policed. And just like the commissioner did say, where they are erring, it has been noted, and we are pretty sure. I want to proudly tell the public that there will be a great change, especially in the way and manner they handle issues that come before them. And that is one of the reasons why the structures were further modified in terms of the command.
In the meantime, the Ebonyi state government has vowed to investigate into an alleged killing of an Ebibuagu security operative in Ekpelu of the Ikwo local government area, even as it urges the people of Ebonyi to shun violence and ensure an atmosphere of peace.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. It's back now to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Margaret. We continue in Lagos, where the Nigerian Customs Service says it has concluded investigation into the arms and ammunition-laden container that was intercepted at the Tinkan Island port in Lagos December last year. The Controller General of the Customs Service, Colonel Hamid Ali, gave this information at an event in Abuja to mark the International Customs Day, pointing out that the suspects have been charged to court in Lagos. He adds that the service has recorded about 2.28 trillion naira in revenue generation and made over 900,000 trade transactions in 2021, an increase of 17.26%. And to infrastructure matters, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has flagged off the Ojota-Okpebi link bridges and approach roads to help improve road connectivity in Lagos. Governor Sanwo-Olu says the project is designed to carry traffic into Maryland as well as towards Ojota on Ikorodu Road and will be delivered in less than 18 months.
We've decided to provide a carefully designed innovative solution that will ease the daily gridlock that we currently experience by commuters around the Okpebi, Mobolaji Johnson, and the Ojota-Mende corridor of our state. As we are aware, there is presently no direct link between the Okpebi, Maryland, and Ojota. We recognize the need to provide another legacy project by constructing the Ojota-Okpebi link bridge and all the approach roads to connect Okpebi Road from its tail end over there with the Lagos-Ikorodu Road by the Odoayalaro at my left-hand side. We're doing this believing that this will be a landmark legacy development into the infrastructure and the traffic management network of Lagos. This is another legacy that we're handing over to our citizens today. And we know that with our partners, Mr. Julius Baja, you will see vehicles move on this road, on this bridge, in less than 20 months from today.
Business News is next. Here's Anne Waldo.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with oil prices. The price of international oil benchmark Brent crude is strongly recovering from the pandemic-era lows as it climbed to $90 per barrel today. And that's its first time since 2014. The renewed threshold comes amid growing geopolitical tensions between Russia and Ukraine, as well as tight supply following the rebound in global demand for crude. At the same time, the latest price level is nearly $30 higher than the $62 per barrel oil price benchmark pegged for Nigeria's 2022 budget by the federal government. Meanwhile, Brent crude was up 1.20% at $89.95 a barrel, and its contemporary, the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude, rose by 1.85% to $86.62 a barrel, and that's after climbing $87.25 a barrel within today's trading session. The House of Representatives has unveiled activities and plans to investigate the Central Bank of Nigeria and commercial banks operating in the country over issues on intervention programs and unclaimed funds. The resolution was passed sequel to the adoption of a motion sponsored by Honorable Dachong Bagos. He mentioned that the House has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate unclaimed funds running into trillions of naira in commercial banks, as well as infractions by the CBN. Let's head to the Nigeria stock market. It has set a new threshold today. Its benchmark performance indicator re-enters a level last seen in September 2008. Let's get the details from Layo Adegoke.
Thanks a lot for joining us for the Stock Market Report. The domestic bourse set a new 13-year high at the close of midweek trading session as its benchmark indicator finally crossed into the 46,000 points level amid strong bargain hunting for equities by investors. Well, it appears January is setting a good tone for equities investing in the Nigerian exchange for 2022. And I say this because nearly 600 billion naira is added to the moderate gain recorded on Tuesday's session. And this pushed the total value of listed equities to the 25 trillion naira mark. At the same time, the all-share index jumped by 1.29% to 46,529 points, which is far, far higher than the 46,216 points it last recorded in September 2008. Well, this fresh rally on both key market indicators is largely attributed to the 10% increase on Airtel Africa's share price, while 18 other equities added some support, which countered losses from Cadbury Nigeria and 18 other decliners. Investors' appetite for equities was also higher today as 328.99 million shares changed hands in more than 4,200 deals worth over 4.81 billion naira, while the shares of Multiverse emerged as number one on the trades list. Oh, it's just 3 trading days left within January, and traders say they remain optimistic that this positive trend will continue for the rest of the month, as investors will be positioning for the full year 2021 results and dividend announcements by companies listed on the exchange in the coming days. That's it on the Stock Market Reports. I'm Layo Adegoke.
Meanwhile, it's mixed close. For some of the world's major stock markets, investors are still reacting to reports that U.S. Federal Reserve will begin raising interest rates as from March this year. Let's take a look at the closing numbers for Wednesday. And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. It's back to you, Millicent.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. Visitors coming through Ghana's Kotoka International Airport will now be required to add a mandatory insurance certificate to their travel documents. The country announced a compulsory insurance scheme for all visitors, regardless of duration of stay and nationality. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. US President Joe Biden says he would consider personal sanctions on Vladimir Putin if Russia invades Ukraine.
I'd feel obliged to beef up our...
Mr. Biden said there would be enormous consequences for the world if Russia made a move on the nation. His comments come as other Western leaders repeated warnings that Russia would pay a heavy price for invasion. Russia, which has released footage of warships rehearsing for battle in the Black Sea, has accused the US and others of escalating tensions over the issue and denies planning to enter Ukraine.
I made it clear to early on to President Putin that if he were to move into Ukraine, that there'd be severe consequences, including significant economic sanctions.
Fears are growing for hundreds of children in a Syrian prison seized by Islamic State inmates after 6 days of clashes with Kurdish-led fighters seeking to regain control of the facility. The sound of heavy gunfire could be heard on Wednesday in the northeastern Syrian city of Hasaka after days of clashes between Kurdish-led forces backed by US troops and Islamic Jihad fighters. More than 220 people have been killed and around 550 militants have surrendered so far. The fighting has also forced over 45,000 civilians, mostly women and children, to flee from their homes. US Coast Guard officials are searching for 39 people who are feared missing after their ship capsized off the Florida coast. Officials were alerted after fishermen spotted a man clinging to the hull of a boat 72 kilometers from the city of Fort Pierce. The survivor said the group had embarked from the Bahamas on Saturday night and hit foul weather. US officials say the boat may have been part of a human smuggling ring. Cuban officials say more than 700 people who took part in anti-government protests last year have been charged with crimes including sedition, vandalism, theft and public disorder. It comes a day after the country rejected accusations by rights groups that its court system had unfairly jailed protesters following widespread unrest. The public prosecutor's office said 172 people had already been tried and convicted without giving details. Families and activists have criticised the trials as unfair and say the sentences are disproportionate. The International Committee of the Red Cross says that for the first time in 5 months, it has delivered medical aid to the war-hit Ethiopian northern region of Tigray. The news is a rare glimmer of hope for Tigray, which continues to suffer from shortages of essential supplies 15 months into the conflict. The ICRC's health coordinator in the country said the development was a huge relief. The planes, which included essential drugs, arrived in the Tigrayan capital Mekelle on Wednesday. A large explosion in a building in central Athens early on Wednesday has blown out windows and caused structural damage to nearby buildings and damaged cars. One building resident was slightly injured, police said, on the mezzanine floor where it is believed the blast originated. The explosion sparked a fire in the 6th floor building. Some 24 firefighters with 9 vehicles tackled the blaze. The ending to the cult 1999 US film Fight Club has been removed for viewers in China and replaced by a screen with a message saying that the authorities had won. The original ending saw Edward Norton's narrator killing his imaginary alter ego Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt, before bombs destroyed buildings to reorder society. In China, before the explosions, a message now says the police foiled the plot, arrested the criminals, and sent Durden to a lunatic asylum. And finally, Ghanaians online have been loving their parliamentary speaker's new look. Alban Bagbin wore a traditional outfit with kente fabric and a crown that is worn by chiefs during ceremonies on Tuesday when Parliament reopened after the Christmas break. Before finishing up for the holidays, he had asked MPs to ditch formal attire like suits and promote local, more traditional outfits. The Speaker said he would do so for ceremonial occasions and tweeted a photo of his regalia for Parliament's opening session to high praise from many online. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Welcome to Sports News. Mohamed Salah scored a decisive spot kick as record 7-time champions Egypt beat Cote d'Ivoire 5-4 on penalties after a 0-0 draw in Douala earlier today to reach the African Cup of Nations quarter-final. The Liverpool star smashed in his penalty with Cote d'Ivoire Eric Bailly, the only player to fail from the sport. And Egypt go on to play Morocco in the last 18 Yaoundé on Sunday. The final round of 16 match between Mali and Equatorial Guinea also ended goalless and had to be decided via penalty kick. Equatorial Guinea won. Super Eagles captain Ahmed Musa says the Super Eagles exit from African Cup of Nations is a hard one for the players, and the disappointment has only made the squad stronger. Musa says there is no pity partying, as the focus is now on the World Cup playoff against the Black Stars of Ghana in March. The Black Stars of Ghana will host the first leg, and the reverse would be in Nigeria. And now to other top sports stories. Top seed Daniil Medvedev battled back from 2 sets down and saved a match point against Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime to reach the Australian Open semi-finals with a 6-7, 3-6, 7-6, 7-5, 6-4 victory earlier today. The 25-year-old Russian had his back firm up against the wall for much of an absorbing contest as Auger-Aliassime produced some stunning tennis on Rod Laver Arena in a tie that lasted 4 hours and 42 minutes. That's sports news. Thank you for joining us, and it's back to you.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The federal government today proposed 2.557 trillion naira to accommodate requirements for 2022 following requests by the NNPC for a monthly fuel subsidy payment of 270 billion naira. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.